Hello folks, welcome to Canal Channel Jose. Today we're going to give you an idea how to replace a pressure relief valve on a water heater. And the purpose of these water heater relief valves are to relieve pressure, that in case if the water becomes steam, it doesn't just keep getting more pressure and more pressure and more pressure. So these valves are a safety feature. So these valves, when it reaches so much pressure, they open because there's a spring holding that pressure back. And if that pressure out comes a spring, then it opens and it releases the pressure. Another thing is that if these valves are leaking, you want to replace them, because then you're going to be heating up water that the water is escaping through this valve. So that can is for both purposes. You want to try out once a year this valve. If it works, it doesn't work, and it can save your life from an explosion inside your garage or your house. So with that said, we're going to replace this valve. And the first thing you want to do for this replacement, you want to make sure that you're getting the right valve, the right size for what you're replacing. Another thing you want to do is that you want to make sure that the valves that shut the water to this water heater actually close the water, and there's no water or no more pressure coming into the water heater. And another thing you want to do as well, you want to drain the water out of this water heater, so when you take this valve off, no water comes out through here. Because if you take this valve off of the water heater when there's pressure, you're going to have that valve, as soon as it loses threads on it, shoot out, and all that water just start going to pouring into the area that you're working at. So with that said, we're going to take this valve off and replace it, and you get an idea what we're talking about. We have the pressure relief valve here, and we're going to be replacing this one with this new one. But one thing you want to make sure that when you're buying the new valve is that you want to match the pressure relief and the temperatures, because this might be opening at 150 psi, and the one you get is might be opening at 200 psi. So you want to make sure that that matches to what you're taking out. Not just because the size is the right size doesn't mean that it's going to work for your scenario. So you want to take a 150 psi valve off. You want to put a 150 psi in, so that way it matches to the equipment that you're working with. So now we have shut off the water to our water heater. Now we drain the water heater. Now we're about to cut the drain point of the relief valve, so that way we can start unscrewing the relief valve. We're going to take this piece of copper off of the valve, so that way we can unscrew this and then the valve. So now we just remove the copper piece. We now remove the valve itself. So here is the old valve that we took out, and as you can see, it looks just like the new one that is coming in. They have this rod, and this one moves around on the new one, and then the old one doesn't move because it's all stuck. So we're replacing this valve because of that it's not doing its job. So it was leaking by as well. So we're losing water, and the boiler, it keeps turning on more often. So now we just put the new relief valve in. We have it with Teflon, and so we can have a new valve. We have the new valve. We put it. We have the Teflon on it. We start threading it in. Look, folks, so we like to use our adjustable wrench, but for this task we like to use a pipe wrench because they have better grip. And these adjustable wrench, they tend to slip here and there, and the pipe wrench grab, they have a really good grip. So if you're working in a tight spot where you can still turn a pipe wrench, we recommend to use a pipe wrench, because it's gonna grab and it's not gonna slip like an adjustable wrench would do. That way you don't cut your knuckles or your hands when you're around sheet metal because of the wrench slipping. So we recommend using a pipe wrench for this. Okay, folks, so now we can screw in our drain point for the relief and then tighten it. We have replaced the pressure relief valve, and we have connected our drain point to it. And one thing we want to say is that these valves are very useful, and they're a safety feature. So if this valve don't work right and there's a lot of pressure build up in your boiler, then the boiler can explode because the steam. So you don't want to, it can cause damage. So you want to make sure that this valve is working. You want to test it and make sure that it works. And also, if it's leaking, you want to actually replace it, because then you're losing energy because of that water that is being thrown away. The water heater has to reheat that water that is coming in when this is coming out. So you want to make sure that this is working both ways, not leaking, and that it actually opens. You want to get the right part for what you're replacing it. Well, folks, we have replaced our pressure relief valve. We have put everything back together. And one thing that we didn't do is we didn't turn off our boiler, but we did is we lowered the temperature all the way down so the boiler wouldn't kick in. So you don't have to shut it down. All you need is just to bring it down on temperature, and you want to drain the boiler so there's no water coming out of here when you take this valve off. You want to make sure you shut your water off to the boiler before you start taking this apart as well. And the only tools we used, it was a pipe wrench, some Teflon, and then we put everything back together. And we had the right part for this job. And so with that said, folks, for our friends who are watching our video, haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. If you like our video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here in el canal, El Chano Jose.